Grace is always free and costly. Grace is always free and costly. Was it free for Joseph to forgive and show favor to his brothers? Was that free for Joseph? Not at all. I mean, he'd been thrown into a pit. He'd been stripped naked, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery. He ends up getting power, and then he uses that to give him grace, but it wasn't just free. He had to absorb that debt. He had to not take vengeance out on his brothers. How many of you go, if my family sold me into slavery and I rose to power, I don't think I would do what Joseph did. I think if a lot of us are honest, we'd say, that would be really tough. I would not want to do that. I would want to put them in slavery, and they could be my slaves and work it back. That's not what Joseph does, though. So Joseph, in a sense, absorbs that debt. He's not going to avenge himself. Then he doesn't just do that. He says, come here. I've got money. I'm going to spend it. Come live in Goshen. That's near Egypt. He's saying, live in this fertile land. You can live on my property. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to provide for you. You are not going to go into poverty. See, grace is always costly for the one who gives it, but always free for the one who receives it. What did Joseph's brothers have to do to receive this grace? Nothing. They hadn't even said anything. If you look at the story, it doesn't say until like verse 15 that they even talked to him. He says, I'm Joseph. And they're just like, uh-huh. And then he says all this stuff to him, like, you sold me into slavery. And they're like, I see where this is going. And then he says, but I want you guys to come down to me. I'm going to give you a future. I'm going to provide for you. And then he starts weeping on them, and they're hugging and kissing each other. And then it says the brothers started to respond to him. They started to even talk. So we see that for those who were receiving grace, it's completely free. They did nothing. They didn't even grovel. They didn't do anything but stand there and passively receive the grace that was being given to them. But you've got to see that grace is always free for the one who receives and incredibly costly for the one who gives. The greatest illustration of this idea that grace is free and costly is the cross. Was it free for Jesus to give us grace? No. He paid the highest cost. He went to the cross. God became a man. He put on flesh and blood. He got tired. He got sick. He was tempted in every way that we are, yet without sin. He then went to the cross and experienced the most brutal and horrific physical pain you could ever experience. And he experienced the most brutal and spiritual pain that you could experience. He was separated from God. He absorbed the wrath of God, the sin, the judgment of sin that you and I deserve and we've earned. Jesus did that to give us grace. It was incredibly costly for him. But what does it cost us? Nothing. Jesus says, it is finished. He says, come to me. He says, believe. I have finished the work. I've done everything necessary. You just receive it passively. You just say, I give up. It's you. So grace is always free for the receiver, always costly for the giver.